To the Minister for Agriculture. Will the Minister update the House on what action this government is taking to support dairy farmers both in my electorate of Page and across Australia?
I call the honourable member for Agriculture. There was so much noise it was hard to hear the beginning. I call the honourable member for Agriculture.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I am a little bit crestfallen that you've forgotten about me already. It's a great. I thank the honourable member for Page for his question, and it's very apt coming from his part of the world. In his part of the world, Madam Speaker, Norco has done a great job. They are currently exporting 30,000 litres of milk a week fresh into China, where they're getting between $7 and $9 a litre. Wow. And what this actually means is the farm gate price in that area has gone up by 56%. And might I say that the work that my department has been doing, getting the protocols right and working with the dairy farmers of that area is absolutely exceptional. That is a record price. That is a record price, and it's happening under business under this government. And it shows what a change of government, what a change of circumstances and a better outcome for the people of Page. It's also important to understand that it's not just unique to the people of Page, that we've seen across our nation in dairy, and these are good figures. These are good figures, Treasurer. That our value in butter, the value of our exports has gone up by 35%. In skim milk powder by 52%. In whole milk powder by 71%. Our total exports have gone up by 22%. Our exports to China have gone up in dairy by 46%. These are great numbers. Do you know that the price for Murray Goulburn, our biggest exporter of dairy, they've gone to a record price of 51 cents a litre at the farm gate, that their actual sales revenue has gone up by 17.8%, that their milk solids price has gone up by 37%. Isn't it marvellous? In 1 year, what a difference we've made. In 1 year, what a difference we have made. And these sort of farm gate prices, and you might just think it's just in dairy. You might just think it's in dairy. But I've had the whole figures brought back. And meat and meat preparations, they've gone up by 29% under us. In total rural goods, close to 10% is the increase under our government. It is the changes that we make. And what that means is, even as we came here today, this is hot off the press, Victorian dairy farmers post a 6-fold increase in earnings. Yeah. That is the sort of difference that people who actually understand business, that is the difference that our side of the chamber makes. But there is an alternative policy. There is an alternative policy. You could go back to the policy of Senator Joe Ludwig and close down the live cattle trade. You could go back to the policy for the member for Lilly and bring back the carbon tax. You could go back to the policy of the member Lilly and bring back the mining tax. But there's only one thing that's going to save them from you, and that's us.
I call the Honourable the Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I ask that further questions be placed on the notice paper. And Madam Speaker, could I briefly add to one answer? I regret to inform the House that I did inadvertently mislead the House. I'm advised by the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Transport and Infrastructure that Malaysia's contribution to the MH370 search is not $30 million but $60 million, and I thank them for that.
I present report number 13 of the Selection Committee relating to the consideration of committee and delegation business and private members' business on Monday, the 22nd of September 2014. The report will be printed in the Hansard for today, and the committee's determinations will appear on tomorrow's notice paper. Copies of the report have been placed on the table. The Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Documents are tabled in accordance with the list circulated to honourable members earlier today. Full details of the documents will be recorded in the votes and proceedings.
Further, I have received advice from the Chief Opposition Whip that he has nominated Ms Park to be a member of the Joint Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade in place of Mr Griffin. I ask leave of the House to move a motion for the appointment of the member to the Joint Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade. Oh, I'm sorry, that is the Minister who's going to do that.
I ask leave of the House to move a motion for the appointment of a member to the Joint Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade.
Is leave granted?
Yes.
Leave is granted.
I thank the Manager of Opposition Business. I move that Mr Griffin be discharged from the Joint Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade, a popular move it seems, Madam Speaker, and that in his place Ms Park be appointed a member of the committee.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. All those in favour, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Okay. I have received a letter from the Honourable Leader of the Opposition proposing that a definite matter of public importance be submitted to the House for discussion, namely, the government putting the interests of fewer than 10 mining companies ahead of more than 9 million workers, 1.3 million families and 3.2 million small businesses. I call upon the honourable members who approve of the proposed discussion to rise in their places. And I call the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The government loves three-word slogans. So the opposition's got one to suggest to them: hands off superannuation. Yeah. What on earth was this government thinking when it made this decision to put the interests of a few mining companies ahead of 9 million Australians, ahead of 3.2 million small businesses and 1.3 million families? It is how this government rolls. But in a year of stupid and short-sighted decisions by this government, in a year where they've broken so many promises, I would submit to the Parliament of Australia that today and yesterday, as the news of this dirty deal between the government and Palmer United Party has emerged, I believe that this decision is the stupidest, most short-term decision I have seen this government make, which will have a generational impact, and no doubt those opposite smirk. And why wouldn't they? Their superannuation's fine. The problem is this government and these MPs, they do one thing for themselves, and yet they ask 9 million Australians to do something else altogether. This is, without a doubt, one of the most catastrophic decisions of whom we will see affect this generation. I mean, well done, government. No one in our wildest imaginings, when we thought about the potential damage this government could do, could imagine that this government would take $150 billion in retirement savings from Australians in the future. The immediate decision to freeze superannuation by keeping it at 9.5% for the next number of years, according to the Financial Services Council, will cost $128 million. What an arrogant treasurer we have. What a cigar-chomping, out-of-touch, blowhard treasurer we have when he would declare, oh no, it's not $128 million being gone. Does this treasurer think he's so smart that he knows more than the modelling of the Financial Services Council? It was truly one of the funniest moments in an otherwise disappointing day when the Treasurer in question time says, I haven't seen the assumptions behind this modelling. Treasurer, we've not seen any of your assumptions behind this hastily cobbled-together deal. The effect of this decision is a disastrous effect. And when we hear this government talk about what it all means and it's going to give money back to people, someone who's aged 25 years old, earning on an average income, will be $100,000 worse off. This mob opposite screamed like cut cats about the carbon price. These guys have gone to town and committed a cost impact on Australians, with the effect of which will be felt for generations. And of course, what do they do to show their priorities in this effect? They give 16,000 people who have millions of dollars already in their superannuation, who earn in excess of $100,000 in interest. That's right. There are people who earn over $100,000 in interest alone. These people opposite want to give them a tax break. Why didn't we think of that? And then we see, though, beyond the cuts to the school income, the school kids bonus and the income support bonus, we actually have to look at the generational impact of this decision is deeper than even the immediate effect. It goes to one of philosophy. These people love to give a lecture about being lifters, not leaners. If you believe them, they're into thrift, they're into accountability, they're into the good old-fashioned work ethic. They want Australians to work hard and save. They're always complaining about debt. So what do when they philosophically are committed, apparently, to thrift and saving? They damage the single best institution in Australia for savings. Shame. Tony Abbott said in 1995, he said that compulsory superannuation is a con job. He just wants to give the money back. We see them undermine universal access to Medicare. We see them undermine equitable access to universities. Now they're undermining the great good dream of ordinary Australians to have enough money when they retire. I mean, and when they talk about we've kept our promise, oh no, they haven't. This is most certainly an adverse change to superannuation, and they want to talk about cocks crowing. I tell you what, their roosters would be hoarse, because 14 times the Prime Minister said there'll be no adverse changing. They would have laryngitis with the amount of untruth that spills from their throats. And they are attacking one of the best. Be careful, say nothing. They would attack one of the great
Member for Hogan is not in his seat and may not
They would
interject.
attack one of the great savings vehicles of Australia. We know we're living longer, and that is a good thing. But we know healthcare costs go up. And what does this mendicant, generation-wrecking government choose to do? They are denying people the financial wherewithal to have enough money in their accounts to pay for their healthcare in retirement. Oh, they love to talk about infrastructure. If infrastructure could be built by words alone, then these would be the Crane Kings. But of course we know that infrastructure is funded by superannuation, and they are starving Australia of infrastructure funding by starving superannuation funds. Right. But what I particularly find galling in what they've done is that they have fed the beast of minority parties publicity-seeking with no interest in the long term of Australia. Now, I get they've got to do deals. I understand they do some horse trading, but never would I imagine that they would put on the chopping block Australia's great superannuation system. They are strangling the superannuation system and starving it of resources. But when they talk about it, what is the deal they actually got? They've managed to get the mining tax off the back of 9 mining companies, and the deal they got for it, 9 million people having their superannuation frozen. I wouldn't send this mob to buy a litre of milk at the milk bar. They'd end up selling the house on the way through. And they talk about wages. Getting a lecture about workers' wages from these people is insulting. What they say in their puffed-up, blowhard manner, Tony Abbott, I must concede, he has the height of a rhinoceros or a sense of humour that no one has yet discovered, where he declares that he is the workers' best friend in giving them money. Let me be clear. Let me be clear and let me remind Australia. The Liberal Party opposite, all of them, have never supported wage rises for workers. So be very careful. When you hear Tony Abbott promising a wage rise for workers, it's time to panic. Put the money in the shoebox, because these people do not know. They think manual labour is a Spanish tennis star. They've never backed in Australian workers. And then what they do is they say we're going to back in wages. So this is the real story of the dirty deal done cheap by these people. What they first of all say is we're not going to have Australian